Have you ever looked at your partner and thought, why can't you be a little more romantic? Why don't you talk about your feelings? Why don't you plan things the way other people do? Why do I have to explain what I need again and again? And perhaps, somewhere beneath those questions, there is another thought. You were supposed to be different. At the beginning of a relationship, we rarely see another person clearly. We see attraction, possibility, chemistry, and hope. We see the parts that fit our dreams. We imagine what the relationship could become, and without realizing it, we may begin building a future around a version of the person who does not fully exist. Then time passes. The intensity settles. Everyday life begins. We discover that the person beside us has habits we do not understand, limitations we did not expect, and ways of showing love that do not always feel like love to us. They may be kind but not romantic, loyal but emotionally reserved, responsible but not spontaneous, affectionate in private but uncomfortable with words. They may repair things, drive the children, prepare meals, handle practical problems, or quietly make sure everything is taken care of. And still, we may think, but why don't you tell me what I want to hear? This is where many relationships begin to struggle. Not because there is no love, but because each person is looking for love in a language the other person may not naturally speak. One person says, "I love you," through words. Another says it through reliability. One plans a surprise. Another notices that the car needs fuel and fills the tank. One wants long conversations about emotions. Another sits beside you when life becomes difficult, even if they do not know what to say. The problem begins when we recognize only our own language as valid. If the love does not arrive in the form we expected, we assume it is missing. We overlook what is being given because we are focused on what is not. This does not mean you should accept neglect, disrespect, emotional coldness, or a relationship in which your needs never matter. Appreciation is not the same as self-abandonment. Acceptance does not mean tolerating harm, but there is a difference between asking for respect and asking someone to become an entirely different person. Many people enter relationships carrying an invisible project. They do not simply want a partner. They want potential. They think, he will become more expressive. She will become less demanding. He will become more ambitious. She will eventually stop needing so much independence. He will learn to enjoy the things I enjoy. She will become calmer, warmer, more spontaneous, more organized, or more interested in the life I want. At first, these expectations may seem harmless. We tell ourselves that relationships are about growth, and they are. But growth is not the same as reconstruction. You can invite someone to develop. You can communicate what matters to you. You can create conditions in which both people learn. But you cannot build intimacy by treating your partner like an unfinished product. No one wants to feel that the person closest to them is constantly looking at who they should become rather than who they already are. When someone repeatedly hears, "You should be more like this. Why can't you do what other partners do? You used to be different. You never give me what I need," they may stop feeling loved and begin feeling evaluated. They may become defensive, withdrawn, quiet, or simply tired of trying to pass an exam with rules that keep changing. Social media has made this even more difficult. We constantly see carefully edited relationships, weekend trips, flowers, anniversary surprises, beautiful homes, smiling couples, declarations of love. We see someone's partner organizing a romantic dinner and wonder why ours never does. We see a family traveling and think our own life is too ordinary. We see public affection and assume it reflects private closeness. But we are comparing our full relationship to someone else's selected moments. We do not see the resentment after the photograph, the financial argument behind the vacation, the silence on the drive home, the loneliness that exists outside the frame. When comparison becomes the standard, gratitude disappears. There is always someone who appears more romantic, more successful, more attractive, or more emotionally available. And if your relationship must compete with every idealized image you see, it will never feel sufficient. A healthier relationship begins when you stop asking, "How does my partner compare to other people?" and begin asking, "What is actually happening between us? Do I feel respected? Can we speak honestly? Can we repair conflict? Is this person reliable when life becomes difficult? Do I feel safe enough to be myself? Can we appreciate one another without pretending that either of us is perfect?" These questions are less glamorous, but they reveal much more. Relationships are not built only through attraction. Attraction may bring two people together, but it cannot teach them how to live together. The early stage of love often creates the feeling that understanding will happen naturally. You talk for hours. You want to know everything. Differences seem charming. Compromise feels easy. But when the intensity fades, love becomes less automatic. This does not always mean the relationship has died. Sometimes it means the relationship is finally beginning. The first stage is often about chemistry. The next stage is about skill. Can you listen without immediately defending yourself? Can you say what you need without accusing? Can you remain curious about someone you think you already know? Can you accept that your partner's emotional world may be different from yours? Can you allow both closeness and freedom? A relationship requires a we, but a healthy we cannot exist without two separate people. There must be room for you, for me, and for us. When the relationship consumes both identities, closeness becomes control. When there is only independence and no shared life, the relationship becomes emotionally empty. The challenge is not to choose between freedom and togetherness. It is to create both. You can love someone deeply and still have interests that do not include them. You can attend an event alone because your partner does not enjoy it. You can spend time with friends. Develop your own work. Have private thoughts. Take a trip. Learn something new. A partner does not have to accompany you everywhere in order to love you. Sometimes one of the most loving things two people can do is stop forcing each other to enjoy the same life in exactly the same way. Perhaps you love concerts and your partner prefers being at home. Perhaps you love travel and they find it exhausting. Perhaps they love building, repairing, or working with their hands, while you want conversation and shared experiences. The goal does not always have to be agreement. Sometimes the goal is permission. You go to the concert. They stay home. You return and tell them what you enjoyed. They show you what they created while you were gone. Neither person has to lose. Conflict often grows when we believe love should remove every difference. We think, if you loved me, you would want what I want. If you cared, this would come naturally to you. If we were truly compatible, I would not have to ask. But love does not make people identical. And mind reading is not intimacy. A partner may care deeply and still fail to understand what you need unless you explain it clearly. It is tempting to say, "You should know," but no one can reliably know everything another person feels. Healthy communication is not a test in which your partner must guess correctly. It is the courage to say, "This matters to me. When this happens, I feel alone. I know words are difficult for you, but hearing affection occasionally helps me feel connected. I see what you do for us, and I appreciate it. I also need us to talk more." Notice that this kind of communication does not erase what the other person gives. It begins with reality. It combines appreciation with honesty. That is very different from saying, "You never care. You are just like all the others. You always disappoint me. You should be different by now." Criticism attacks identity. A request describes a need. One creates shame. The other creates the possibility of cooperation. Gratitude also matters more than many people realize. Not because we should praise every ordinary responsibility as though it were extraordinary, but because people need to know that their presence has value. In many families, appreciation is almost absent. A meal is expected. A repair is expected. Childcare is expected. Emotional support is expected. Earning money is expected. Keeping the household functioning is expected. We notice only when something is not done. When people feel invisible for long enough, they stop offering themselves with the same warmth. Gratitude does not weaken standards. It strengthens connection. Thank you for taking care of that. I noticed how patient you were. I feel safer because I can depend on you. I like the way you make our home feel. You may not say much, but I see what you do. These statements do more than flatter someone. They tell them, you are visible here. You matter. Your effort reaches me. Many people grew up receiving far more correction than appreciation. They heard what was wrong with them, what they had forgotten, what they should improve, what someone else did better. As adults, they may repeat the same pattern without realizing it. They look at their partner and immediately notice the crooked collar, the unfinished task, the wrong tone, or the thing that could have been done better. Criticism becomes automatic because it feels familiar. But familiarity does not make it healthy. You can learn a different way of relating. You can notice what is working before you address what is not. You can say, I value this about you, and there is also something I would like us to improve. That does not make you weak or overly polite. It makes the conversation more likely to succeed. A relationship is easier to repair when both people still feel respected. There is another important truth. A partner cannot repair everything your childhood failed to provide. If you grew up without affection, you may crave constant reassurance. If you were ignored, you may need intense attention. If you were controlled, you may react strongly to compromise. If you never felt chosen, you may expect your partner to prove their love again and again. These needs are understandable. But no partner can become the perfect parent you never had. They cannot return to your childhood and give you every missing word, every lost moment, or every experience of safety. They can support your healing. They can love you in the present. But they cannot carry the entire weight of your past. When we expect them to do that, the relationship becomes overwhelmed. One person thinks, you must finally make me feel enough. The other thinks, no matter what I do, it is never enough. Healing often begins before the relationship, or alongside it, by learning to give yourself some of what you keep demanding from another person. Can you soothe yourself without always needing immediate reassurance? Can you make choices without waiting for approval? Can you spend time alone without feeling abandoned? Can you recognize your own value without needing your partner to confirm it every day? Time alone can be deeply important for this reason. Not loneliness imposed by rejection, but chosen solitude. A period in which you discover what you enjoy, what you believe, what kind of life fits you, and what you will no longer accept. People who have never learned to be alone may enter relationships mainly to escape themselves. They choose quickly because any relationship feels safer than no relationship. Then they ask the partner to provide identity, direction, worth, and emotional stability. But when you know how to live with yourself, you choose differently. You do not need another person to rescue you from emptiness. You can ask, do I genuinely like this person? Do our values fit? Can we build something real? Or am I simply afraid to be alone? Self-knowledge does not guarantee a perfect relationship. Nothing does. But it reduces the chance that you will confuse desperation with love. It also helps you preserve yourself once you are in a relationship. Love should not require you to disappear. Independence is not disloyalty. Responsibility for your own life does not mean you care less about your partner. In fact, two people who remain connected to themselves often have more to bring to each other. They can create a relationship from choice rather than dependence. They can say, I am here because I want to be, not because I cannot exist without you. This kind of love is less dramatic, but often more stable. It allows admiration without worship, closeness without possession, commitment without self-erasure. Modern relationships are especially complicated because the roles of women and men have changed. Women have more education, financial independence, and freedom to choose their lives. Many men are also questioning older definitions of masculinity that taught them to provide, control, remain strong, and hide vulnerability. Some people welcome these changes. Others feel lost. Women may want emotionally intelligent partners while still expecting men to carry traditional financial responsibility. Men may want independent women while feeling threatened by their independence. Both may want equality while carrying habits learned from unequal homes. This creates confusion. But the answer is not a war between women and men. It is curiosity. What does partnership mean to us? What responsibilities do we want to share? What do we each need? What are we willing to learn? Which old roles still serve us, and which ones create resentment? There is no single arrangement that fits every couple. One person may earn more. One may care for the home. Both may work. Responsibilities may change through different stages of life. What matters is not whether the relationship looks modern or traditional. What matters is whether the arrangement is chosen, respected, and fair to the people living inside it. A healthy relationship does not require both people to contribute in exactly the same way. It requires both people to feel that their contribution matters. It also requires the willingness to grow. You cannot force another person into therapy, reflection, or emotional maturity. You can invite them. You can express what you need. You can set conditions for remaining in the relationship. You can say, "I care about you, but this pattern is hurting us. I am willing to work on my part, but I cannot do both parts. I want us to learn, but I will not keep pretending everything is fine." That is not manipulation. It is clarity. A boundary is not an attempt to control another person. It is a statement about what you will participate in. The difficult truth is that sometimes one person grows and the other refuses. One learns to communicate. The other mocks communication. One takes responsibility. The other continues blaming. One becomes more aware. The other insists that nothing needs to change. Love cannot always overcome a complete refusal to participate. A relationship needs two people who are at least willing to look. Not perfectly, not at the same speed, but honestly. At the same time, not every disappointment means a relationship should end. We live in a culture that sometimes treats discomfort as proof of incompatibility. The early excitement fades, and people assume love is gone. A partner reveals limitations, and we decide we chose the wrong person. But long-term love is not the endless continuation of infatuation. It is something people learn to create after idealization fades. You begin to see the real person, not the dream, not the project, not the person they promised to become, the real person. Then you ask, can I respect this person? Can I accept the parts that are unlikely to change? Can we improve the patterns that genuinely harm us? Do we still have warmth, curiosity, and goodwill? Do we both want a shared life? Love becomes less about discovering perfection and more about building a language together. That language may take years. You learn when the other person needs space, when they need comfort, how they apologize, what makes them feel appreciated, what they cannot tolerate, what frightens them, how they show affection, how they protect themselves. You also learn where you need to stop excusing behavior and where you need to become more flexible. Acceptance does not mean lowering every standard. It means knowing the difference between a flaw and a violation. A partner who does not enjoy parties may simply be different from you. A partner who humiliates you at parties is disrespecting you. A partner who struggles to talk about feelings may need patience and practice. A partner who uses silence to punish you is creating harm. A partner who is not naturally romantic may still be loving. A partner who consistently ignores your pain is emotionally unavailable. The question is not whether they meet an ideal. The question is whether the relationship contains respect, responsibility, safety, and enough mutual care to grow. No person will give you everything. Your partner cannot be your lover, therapist, best friend, entire social world, constant source of entertainment, perfect co-parent, financial protector, emotional healer, and ideal companion in every interest. Expecting one person to meet every need places impossible pressure on love. Healthy adults need more than a couple. They need friendships, interests, community, time alone, purpose beyond the relationship. A relationship becomes stronger when it is not required to be the entire world. And perhaps this is one of the deepest changes many people need to make. Stop asking, how can I turn this person into what I imagined? Begin asking, who is this person really? What do they give? What can they learn? What can I accept? What can I not accept? And who am I when I am not trying to manage them? You may discover that your partner has been loving you in ways you did not know how to recognize. You may also discover that you have been surviving on too little and calling it acceptance. Both realizations are possible. The purpose of reflection is not to keep every relationship together. It is to see clearly. Sometimes clarity leads to gratitude. Sometimes it leads to better communication. Sometimes it leads to therapy. Sometimes it leads to boundary. And sometimes it leads to leaving. But whatever the outcome, clarity is kinder than living for years inside a fantasy. A mature relationship begins when two people stop performing for an ideal and begin meeting each other as they are. Not without expectations, not without needs, but without the demand that love turn another human being into a flawless answer to every unfinished part of our lives. Real partnership is not, you complete me. It is closer to, I know myself. I am learning you. We are choosing what we can build together. There is you. There is me. And there is the we that exists only when both of us contribute to it. That we needs attention. It needs gratitude. It needs freedom. It needs honesty. It needs repair. And above all, it needs two people who are willing to remain curious about each other. Have you ever realized that someone was showing love in a way you did not initially recognize? Or have you experienced the opposite? Staying too long because you kept hoping someone would become different? Share your thoughts in the comments without revealing private details. And if you enjoy calm, thoughtful videos about relationships, psychology, self-worth, emotional patterns, and personal growth, subscribe to the channel for more.